This is Marco Reus.
This is Shinji Kagawa.
This is Nuri Shahin.
Hello, this is Jadon Sancho.
And you're listening to the Yellowwallpod podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode 330 of the Yellowwallpod. I'm your host Stefan Butzko, and today we will talk about Borussia Dortmund's 2-0 loss against Mainz, and we will preview Saturday's game in Leipzig, which is already penultimate match day. For that and more joins me Konstantin Egner. Hello Konstantin, how are you doing?
Hi Stefan, fine, how are you?
I'm doing very well myself, and I'm very happy to announce that we have two sponsors for this episode. First, we are sponsored by Borussia Dortmund Romania Fan Club. Some of you may remember the Borussia Dortmund Fans Around the World episode with Dragos Lazarescu. And we are also sponsored by Zach Hill, who made a very generous donation. So thanks to Romania and to Zach. Well, Konstantin, I feel like this is all the positivity that's out there already, because that 2-0 win by Mainz was pretty dull, I felt. It wasn't a fun game to watch from a Dortmund perspective, apart from maybe the first, 20 minutes or so. But afterwards, it was just all downhill. So I think you were just flicking through the games as you watched the Wednesday night games.
Yeah, as you said, we have already reached a high point in our show with the generous donations. $1 million, right? 1 million. You're now going big here. Stefan's already coked out of his mind. But getting back to football, yes, I switched a little bit from game to game because, especially after Bayern winning the championship on Tuesday, it was even more pointless to watch the Dortmund game, like, all invested, because why? What's going to happen? Given the lackluster performance against Düsseldorf, more or less promised that Dortmund will have another one against Mainz. I think that was like the protection for this match, that they will lose to Mainz. All right, didn't see that coming, quite frankly, because Mainz have been quite atrocious for the most part. But on the other hand, I can see that, on a somewhat rainy Wednesday evening in an empty Dortmund stadium, even Leo Messi would have struggled, I guess, maybe, or perhaps not.
I don't know about Messi, but yeah, I can definitely see why Dortmund weren't on the level you would expect them. I mean, I feel like they've petered out a little bit in the last two games against Hertha, which was a very solid performance, but it wasn't the fireworks, to be honest. And Düsseldorf, this could have easily resulted in a draw or in a loss. But then Dortmund had the old smash and grab at the end. So, it wasn't completely unsurprising. But then again, I did not see it coming at all, because I thought that Dortmund at least would pull it together. And I actually did not expect Mainz to play that well. Under Achim Bayerlord, so maybe this is where some credit is due, Konstantin.
Yeah, I think so. I of course followed the Twitter bubble during the match, as I always do.
That's very sparse with credit, however.
Yes. No. But give some time. Give it a breather. I will get to the point of Achim Bayerlord, next German national coach or something. No, but I was following the Twitter bubble during the match, and a couple of people tweeting repeatedly and frequently during Dortmund matches also pointed out that Mainz actually played quite well, and I think sometimes that's overshadowed. And I saw one tweet where someone was writing, or basically saying, Mainz could, or a team like Mainz could beat Dortmund 6-0, and people would still talk about Dortmund screwing up instead of Mainz performing well, especially in the context of their season. I mean, Mainz, as I said, they have been quite atrocious for the most part of the season. A couple of good performances, but most performances were lackluster or even really ridiculously bad. So I think in a match like that against the Dortmund team that weren't at 100%, I think, or performing at 100% at least, still Mainz did quite well. Bayer Lutzer, known as a defensive-minded coach, I think you can say. You could really see how Mainz defended quite well, stayed compact, and also were not giving, and by that we're not giving Dortmund the space they need. Especially, I mean, you got a couple of situations where Hazard or Sancho received the pass, right up there in these half spaces somewhere in Mainz half, and then they were just standing with their back to the goal and didn't know what to do because there was no one open, and also a lot of pressure coming from all sides. So I think that was really a sign that Mainz performed quite well. Of course, it doesn't mean that on a different day, different time, different situation in the Bundesliga and the title race, Dortmund would probably smash them anyway, at least after a can opener by Haaland or something, but not on that Wednesday evening, where just Dortmund wasn't really that intense. And also what I just said about Hazard, Sancho standing with their back towards the goal, they didn't really have someone they could play to in the backspace or in the space behind them. So sometimes they were just lost. And I think in a different match that wouldn't have happened, and Witsel, Brandt or Hakimi, they would have been much more present then and be open to then receive the backwards pass. Wasn't really happening against Mainz, but context is king in that regard.
Mats Hummels apparently was audible, criticizing his team for the alibi pressing, and I think you could see that in a game where Dortmund really is trying hard. The entire front three of Sancho, Haaland, and Hazard, and I guess the wingbacks as well, just everyone, would press much harder, more intense, and that just was not happening. Even Haaland was looking quite lazy and sluggish, which I personally didn't expect. But yeah, it was a very odd game from Dortmund, and you could really see how they just weren't up for it to go the 100%, and Mainz did. And in the Bundesliga, as Julian Brandt said after the game, sometimes that's enough. He admitted that Dortmund didn't want it as much as Mainz wanted it, and I think Favre said at the press conference that Dortmund underestimated Mainz and didn't defend and press collectively. So that's a pretty big indictment on the team, but also shows that the motivation for them was absolutely not there, and whether they finish second or third apparently does not matter that much to Dortmund, at least to the team. I don't know how much it matters to the manager. I don't know how big the difference is, but you want the prestige of finishing ahead of Leipzig, at least, I guess, and you want the extra TV money that comes along with it. It's a bit annoying, but it was also kind of interesting just to see how shaken Dortmund were in this game, how frustrated they are with their season, because the amount of yellow cards they received, it was 6 yellow cards, and that means Achraf Hakimi will be out against Leipzig with the suspension. And yeah, I mean, Dortmund obviously also with a lot of injuries going into this game. Manuel Akanji was out on a short hand with a muscular injury. Gio Reyna, who I think was supposed to start also, he has a bacterial infection, whatever that means. So apparently not the Rona. And of course, Mario Götze still, for some reason, hasn't tested negative after the 2 weeks since his child was born. So he wasn't with the team. And obviously Royce and Delaney and who else am I forgetting was not with the team. So yeah, it's a pretty long list. But yeah, still, if you look at the lineup that Dortmund had, there really are not any excuses to lose against Mainz other than that Dortmund just sometimes are lackluster. And I mean, at the end, there was a lot of talk about the Wettbewerbsverzerrung, as we say in German, the competitive distortion. I don't know if that's perfectly translates, but you know, I think there was some competitive distortion by Werder Bremen because they clearly rigged the title race by losing against Bayern. So it's them who really are to blame for this entire scenario here. Because had they won, Dortmund probably would have won as well, because then Dortmund still had something to play for, but with Bremen losing and not taking advantage of 10-man Bayern, yeah, there's nothing Dortmund really can do. But no, in all honesty, you know, Dortmund actually dropped points against Paderborn and against Bremen in home matches this season, so and there were still things to play for. So yeah, I don't want to hear all these debates about the Wettbewerbsverzerrung or whatever. Just get the hell out of here. So yeah, that's just nonsense. And yeah, Mainz are just simply lucky to play Dortmund at the time they played them, and that's about it. So yeah, that's all I have to say about this game. I mean, we can talk about substitutions of Schmelzer and Morey and all that. And I think Nico Schulz came on in the end with a left-hand sided wing of Schmelzer and Schulz. Yeah, I don't know. If you want to say a few words, Konstantin, please go ahead. But I'm beyond caring about this game, to be honest. So I don't need to dissect it play by play, to be honest.
Yeah, of course not. And I think sometimes it's not even in other times it's not worth it, like to go through the match play by play, or it's just I mean, I think most of the listeners have watched the match or at least saw bits and pieces of the match, and I think they have an idea of what went wrong. So yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's just, you can, of course, there might be coming some blame from Bremen and Düsseldorf, who are right now in the relegation battle, and Mainz pretty much has pulled himself through this win out of the relegation battle. They are 5 points ahead. They are basically safe at this point. I mean, congrats to them. I
don't know. I wouldn't jinx them because they play Bremen next, and if they lose, they're only 2 points ahead for the final match day. So it's not entirely ruled out yet, but yeah, But
it looks good. It looks good. It looks promising for them. And as I said, decent performance by Mainz. So it wasn't like Dortmund scoring 3 own goals or something and, you know, basically fumbling the whole thing deliberately. It was just Mainz was pretty good. Of course, then momentum got in there. The first goal happened at a point when Dortmund was a little bit on the downslide, and then Mainz scored. Dortmund come out of the halftime break, and then, you know, an early second goal changes the entire complexion of the match. And then what's Favre got to do at that point? Doesn't really have the bench right now, I guess, because of the injuries and just unavailable players.
I mean, they had Thailand, Duman, and then Ala Bakir on the bench, you know, for the first time, and Tobias Rasche, also. Yeah, Marco Rente.
Yeah.
So
young, promising guys. I don't know if any one of them will make it, but it's not like they will get on the field and then will turn things around. It's not really the time and place. So yeah, what he did is he switched from a back 3 to a back 4 with Schmelzer coming in and playing as the left back and Hakimi playing as the right back. That was his go-to move, basically. But I mean, think about it. Dortmund trailing by 2 goals. Schmelzer comes on, and Favre switches to a back 4, which is of course the attacking move, the offensive move. But I mean, if that's all you got really up your sleeve at that point, it shows you that maybe, I mean, there wasn't really much on the bench, and just I don't think that Favre didn't really know how to turn things around because of how just lackluster the performance had been up to this point when Mateta scored the second goal. So sometimes you don't really, I mean, if the team don't really perform that well, then as a coach you can't really do anything during the match. At least it's really, especially shortly after the break. I mean, sometimes you can do something during the halftime break, but after that it's just And I think even the coach at some point doesn't really care fully anymore. I mean, it is like this, right? You see Bayern celebrating the championship, and you remember that a few weeks ago you were only 4 points behind, playing Bayern, having the chance to get to them by only 1 point, and then you don't, and you're 7 points behind, and then you see them winning the championship. Then you think, yeah, fuck it, it's just season over. Even if you don't say it like out loud, and even like the players say, yeah, we will give 100% no matter what, you know that deep down inside you don't give these 100%, and it's just human. Why would you at such a point? Of course, you want to secure the second place. Yes, but even then, you might only be at 80 or 85, 90%, and that's sometimes not enough in a top flight match. And that's just what it is. And even as a coach, sometimes you're just like, oh, I don't care anymore. Season over. And even I would be more critical of the performance if Dortmund were still in the cup final or something. You know, where you say you have to use these matches to get preparation for the cup final. But that's also not the case. So there's nothing there's nothing really. There's only the summer break. That's where we are heading to. And so yeah.
Yeah. I think that wraps it up quite nicely. So what happened in Düsseldorf, that game? Because Leipzig, I think, conceded 2 pretty late goals. So I guess their tensions also dropped, huh?
Well, I mean, yes, they led 2-0 after 65 minutes or so. They scored 2 goals pretty quickly, 60th minute and 63rd minute or so. As it was really shortly after the first, they scored the second, and it looked like Leipzig will just win this match and will get close to Dortmund. But then Szybski scored the 2-1, 87th minute or so. I mean, yeah, well, a little bit of concern. And then what happens, of course? Leipzig concedes another goal after corner kick. Well. Who could have seen it coming?
Why are they susceptible on set pieces?
Oh yes. That's like I mean, if you have a scouting report out there on Leipzig, major weakness: defensive set pieces. It's just like, I don't know how, you have to look it up, but I don't know how many goals they have conceded after set pieces, especially following corner kicks, or conceded goals, or like were on the edge of conceding one, you know, where they scrapped the ball off or cleared it off the line or something. But it's just, yes, defensive set pieces it's pretty bad. And yeah, that's so I think André Hoffmann then scored the second one. I think that while, I mean, Leipzig, they have been successful in recent weeks, but also I don't know what happened, but they didn't really come out of the COVID break looking good. They did just not. Their performance have been lackluster all around. Yes, they won against Cologne, they won against Hoffenheim, but especially in home matches. Boy, oh boy.
Yeah, they do every home game since the restart, didn't they?
Yes. They had 5 home games, I think. And they drew in all 3 of them. 3 home games, and they drew in all 3 of them. So it's just intensity levels have dropped, or weren't as high as they were, or aren't as high as they were before the COVID break. So still they can win a couple of matches just based on individual quality. That's just, and I don't think Leipzig, they aren't as radical in terms of like tactics as they were under Ralf Hasenhüttl, and so they are much more on quote unquote normal. But of course, because of the quality they have, they can still can win a lot of matches. And Nagelsmann, of course, makes these adjustments tactically, but he's not as radical. It's not like he's trying out all these outrageous systems or something. But intensity is still a big part of Leipzig's game, and even against Düsseldorf, I think they dominated, of course. Just like Dortmund dominated Mainz for stretches of the match. Don't get me wrong. But then in the last 50 minutes or so, and in the last 15 minutes of the match, they just tried to cruise, and it didn't work out. And even before that, even before the 2 goals Leipzig scored, they weren't as powerful and as intense as they are usually, as forceful is a better word, as they were a couple of months ago. So I don't know what happened during the COVID break. Just chilling and eating pizza all the time.
Yeah, I don't know really either, but I have a feeling that this game on Saturday will pick up the intensity a little bit, because I feel like both teams really do want to win, and if Leipzig do win, they will be level on points with Dortmund, and since both teams have the same goal difference now, Leipzig would leapfrog Dortmund ahead of the final match day. So I guess Dortmund just mustn't lose if they want to retain second place, and then of course boogie team Hoffenheim on the final match day, and people who watched this game in 2013, which we will not mention any further, will remember that shit show against Hoffenheim. So yeah, Dortmund are not in a safe haven of second place quite yet, but yeah, it will be a very interesting game in many regards. Of course, there is this whole, I guess, topic of Timo Werner joining Chelsea. I think that has been made official today. So how do you assess the move of Timo Werner to Chelsea?
From what perspective?
Yours.
Yeah, but I mean, well, I think he favored a move to Liverpool initially. I mean, he talked to Klopp on more than one occasion. He during the COVID break, but he basically gave Klopp a deadline that it was in mid-April. So he basically told Klopp that Liverpool had to make a decision. Klopp went to the board. They said no, we don't pay the 50 million euros. So and then when the deal was off. With Liverpool, so I think Liverpool was his first choice.
Do you think Liverpool will rule the choice of not buying him, or do you think that they actually made a good decision by not paying the big bucks for Timo Werner?
Werner would have been a bargain for Liverpool. They didn't go for it, and what you have to keep in mind is that if you look at the squad of Liverpool's, they at least need one more attacking player, because Mane and Salah will play the African Cup of Nations in January and February. So usually a busy time in Premier League in the Premier League world. So then you only have Firmino left, and that's it. I think it would help to have at least one more striker, and then he could have a bit more rotation. You know, let maybe giving Firmino some rest or Mane. But I think Werner would have been a great addition. And as for Chelsea, the transfer ban in 2019, in hindsight, was a blessing, I guess, because now they have fresh cash. Of course, Abramovich is also pumping in cash. And now they can go shopping, and they signed Ziyech, and now they signed Werner, and they already have a talented attacking department, in my opinion. Surely.
I mean, they have this kid called Pulisic.
Yeah, I just wanted to say purely that there have been a few players haven't really delivered as expected. Pulisic is one of them, I guess. Now they are pumping the gas, and they could be more than just the third, fourth, or fifth wheel in this Premier League title race. And that's what they are trying to do. I don't think they are talking about winning the Champions League. It's more about can we get back into the title race, into the real title race, and not just hanging behind the others. And I think, they can, I guess, with these signings. Sure, why not?
It's a bit weird. It's a bit of a head scratcher to me, because I don't think he will go to the heights he maybe could have gone at Chelsea than he would at another club. But what do I know?
But one last addition to that point. I see where we're getting, because like Chelsea, they don't really have the reputation a couple of other clubs have. But what I think, in Werner's case, last season, he talked to Bayern extensively. Then they decided they decided to not sign him. He got an offer by Atletico. That was it. Or I don't know if it was an offer, but there was like, Atletico was openly saying, we are interested in signing him. All right, that's it. But he wasn't really interested in going to Atletico. Then a year later, he talks to Liverpool. Deal falls through because Liverpool don't want to pay the release clause, or pay the transfer fee that's in the release clause. They wanted to negotiate with Leipzig, and Leipzig weren't having it. Because why? It's still 50 million, right? And then, and by the way, last season when Bayern opted against signing against him, I think the release clause was at 25, 26, 27 million. All right, side against him. All right, and now this summer, Liverpool said no. Then Chelsea came around and he said, "All right, I do it." Because I think at one point you get a little bit impatient for all these negotiations, and clubs are pulling out.
No, it's maybe just my way of thinking. If he's rejected, quote unquote, by Bayern and by Liverpool, you basically say, okay, there must be something wrong with this guy. But I mean, he's an awesome striker, but he needs to play in the right system, I would say. And I never really rated his football IQ. I still feel like his decision making could be better. But that being said, I feel like it has improved a little bit since Julian Nagelsmann arrived. Yeah. I don't know if that had to do with him dropping a bit deeper and learning more roles, and hence getting a better understanding for the game. Because if you play in a different position, you just broaden your horizon as a player. And I feel like this is what happened for Werner, at least over the course of a season. So yeah, I think he's a really good player. But it's obviously going to be a big blow for Leipzig, who were maybe planning in the long term to get Haaland from Salzburg before Dortmund snatched him up, or I don't know, but that's how I would imagine their long term planning went. If you have a Haaland in your sister club or whatever playing around, but I'm sure Leipzig will be fine and will find another striker. Now on Saturday, I assume Werner will play. Will he play behind Schick and next to Olmo, or where will he play? And what kind of system do you think Nagelsmann will apply against the Black and Yellows?
He will play up front on the left side. He's the left-sided center forward, which is a weird term, but I think you know where I'm getting with that. Right now they play with a midfield diamond. They meaning Leipzig, almost number 10, and Werner's a little bit more on the left. Then I think Schick might be playing on the right. Nkunku, by the way, played as the right-sided striker against Düsseldorf, because Nkunku can play it all, or can do it all. I should say. So yeah, I mean, Werner will play obviously, and Schick might play against Dortmund. Maybe Nkunku drops back, or and Olmo's Spanish. Although Olmo has done quite well after I was very critical of his first performances for Leipzig, because he just looked slow and sluggish. But now he's much sharper, and that's good for him. So I guess there will be a midfield diamond, which is actually interesting system against Dortmund, because what you also see in the Mainz match is that sometimes Dortmund are struggling with being outnumbered in the center midfield. Sure. Witsel and Brandt then being outnumbered, and if they play against a midfield diamond with at least Campbell, Adams, Olmo in center midfield, maybe Sabitzer is a bit out wide sometimes, but still, then you got at least 3 or maybe 4 players in the center spaces. So I'm interested in how Dortmund will react to it. If maybe Guerrero as the wing back will move to the inside a little bit or something like that. I'm really interested because there are also not a lot of clubs using a diamond.
Yeah, except Werder Bremen from time to time, I feel. But yeah.
But they could also play, they could also play like Brazil 1982 and wouldn't really make a difference, right?
Fair enough. So, what will be interesting from a Dortmund perspective is obviously how they will replace Achraf Hakimi, and whether that means Favre will switch to a back four or whether Moray will just plug into that wing-back position, and we'll see how that goes. Would you do that? Would you just stick to the 3-4-2-1 system as if you were Favre and just plug Moray into that position and maybe, I don't know, have him play a little bit more on the inside? I think he would go up mostly against Angelino and Halstenberg, am I right?
Yeah, that's right. So, based on what I just said about Leipzig's diamond and being having this presence in the middle of the pitch, it might be time to move back to at least return once to the 4-3-3 and have 3 center midfielders. Then you can work around Hakimi being unavailable and Piszczek playing as the right back, and Guerrero is the left back, I guess. Witsel, Brandt, and there you go. And the third one, usually Guerrero would be a natural addition to the center midfield.
Yeah.
But since he would have to play on the left, or you play Schmelzer or Schulz as a left back, but jeez.
All right.
Yeah, but you see, it would be helpful to get a couple of players back if you want to get something out of this team.
Yeah,
because yeah.
that's quite obvious.
A center back would be helpful, so Can can play in the center midfield again.
Yeah, having Zagadou, for example, would help massively, but he's out. I don't know if Akanji will be fit or not.
If he is, then Can can play in center midfield, Can and Brandt and Witsel, and that would work out, I think. So yeah, but there you go. I think you can go back to the 4-3-3, but of course from a more of a let's say player development perspective, Moray playing on the right side, yes, I'm all for it because Hakimi will be out the door in a few weeks, and at least I think so. And Moray. Sure, there's also Meunier on the horizon, but Moray, I think he will be asked to carry a more load than he has done this season.
Moray has forward momentum, and it could be in the future that he plays as the right wing back if Dortmund stick to the system, and Meunier plays in the Piszczek position, for example. So, I would definitely do it. I don't even care if Dortmund lose or not, because, as much as it would suck to finish third in the end, I feel like having Moray there is more value, and I'm completely honest. Whether you play Moray or somebody else, I don't think in the grand scheme of things this will not make or break the Dortmund team and whether they will win or lose. I think Moray should be capable enough, and unless he has like horrendous mistakes in his positioning, then that's going to be bad.
Especially if you don't trust him now, then you won't trust him in August or September or October. It's just and I mean then like I understand that maybe you don't trust Raschel also with that kind of match against Leipzig. Although Raschel is a talented center midfielder, but of course, then I understand that. But if you don't trust Moray now, when he's really fully fit, then I mean, what's the point in even having him?
All right, so I'm glad we figured this one out. I don't know if Gio Reyna will return. I don't think he will if he has an infection. So it's going to be really problematic for Dortmund that they do have a deep squad, but they just have so many injuries and infections and all kinds of trouble. And obviously the Hakimi suspension doesn't help either in this context. So, yeah, I mean, Dortmund are very lucky that Rafael Guerreiro is able to play after he shoved his finger into opponent's face. For me, that would have been a red card, but the referee was a bit more lenient and only showed a yellow. But yeah, I thought there was over the line and just complete, unsportsmanlike conduct. So for me, this would have been a red card. But yeah, I don't know. Overall, Dortmund just not at their best behavior in many ways against Mainz. So yeah, we'll see if they can turn it up against Leipzig, or whether this will be just a dull scrap and Dortmund will get pummeled again, or Leipzig also don't care and it will peter out in a scoreless draw or whatever. I don't care, but Konstantin, for the sake of it, please give me your prediction.
Yes, 2-2.
All right.
2-2 draw.
I am going for a 3-2 win for Leipzig and hope with my reverse jinx I will achieve a lot, but I don't think it works if you announce it. But
yeah, I just wanted to say you jinxed your jinxing.
Yeah. Anywho,
great.
Yeah, please tell our listeners where to read the content that you write. I've read earlier today that you were writing about the German Rona app.
Yeah, the German coronavirus track and trace app. Yeah, I mean, you can find me on Twitter, as always, CC_ECKNER, and there you can find my stuff. And also, I've written a longer piece on Timo Werner's Chelsea move for BBC, so that's also somewhere there when you go onto my Twitter page.
Yeah, don't you also have a YouTube channel that you want to plug?
For German listeners, yes, I have. So I got a new domain, but I'm not sure if it's working. So it's youtube.cceckner.com. That's the URL I created.
Very, very creative there. Yeah, we'll see how much traffic you will get from this plug. I wouldn't hold my breath, but yeah. Otherwise,
well, I mean, yes. Why not? It's more of a private file, not private, but it's more of a fun project and not like. I never believed I will be a YouTube star with millions of subscribers. So it's more like.
Well, for that you need to yell a little bit more and have funny thumbnails, I think. It's at least a start.
We will work on that. I need an assistant.
Yeah. I'm sure I'll Photoshop your grimace on top of your thumbnail. No problem. But that's $100 an hour. So no, but
jeez, you are like I just wanted to make a joke, but I refrained from doing.
Anywho, you can follow me at Stefan Butzko on Twitter. No YouTube channel, although you can subscribe to our YouTube channel on YouTube. If you just enter Yellowwallpod.
You're horrible.
Yeah. If you just enter Yellowwallpod into the search bar, then you shall find it. And yeah, before this gets even messier, I will just say, as always, thank you for listening. And if you want to subscribe to the show, please do that via aforementioned YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, etc. If you want to read our written content, go to theyellowwall.net. And if you want to contribute financially or sponsor an episode, go to patreon.com/theyellowwall. And this should be it for this week. And we will be back to, I guess, dissect the Leipzig game if we feel like it. Because, if it's a boring game, we'll just talk for 5 minutes, some smack, and then we'll be out again. So, Konstantin, thanks for coming on. And again, everyone out there, thank you for listening. And to our patrons, thank you for the support, and everyone else for sharing and whatnot. And with that, until next time, goodbye. What? I wouldn't say that. No. Christina fragt gerade, ob du wie Günther Steiner bist.